So I still want to get back to where the extra $4,000. If $5,500 last year was good for my taxes, why they need an extra $4,000 this year? That's what I want to get to. So I think that's the question a lot of homeowners have. Where does my extra taxes go every year? I think people want to know. I'm one of those people. It's like, okay, if you're going to take the money from me, I want to see improvements. I want to see the road improvements. I want to see where the money's going. And I think a lot of homeowners are frustrated because now they have to pay more money. And when there's inflation, when everything is more expensive, travel costs are more expensive, everything's more expensive, and now my taxes are going up. I'm already pinched as a homeowner, and now I'm being pinched even more. And it's on me to pay $50 to a company and then 30% of what they save me to protest my valuations when the CAD just goes, I'm going to appraise your home way higher than both of my properties in Travis County, way higher than what is actually sold. So I want to get to that. In fact, I already lost my question because I'm so frustrated with that. Oh, but the irony. I find the irony in the fact that AISD has shut down schools recently and that people are leaving AISD to go to schools around AISD because they're not happy with the school and they're having to actually lay off. They said they're not going to fill 250 vacant seats or positions, and they're still laying people off, but they're just reshuffling. So I find it funny that we're sending all this money back to the state when we probably could use it here in Austin.
Anyway. So just because appraisals rise doesn't necessarily mean you will pay higher taxes, okay? Because your appraisal does is it says if you have a 3,000 square foot house, another person that has a 3,000 square foot house in your neighborhood, you guys should pay approximately the same amount of money in taxes. It determines your percentage of the pie that you pay. Okay, so just because it goes up doesn't necessarily mean it will go down. So let me give you a dramatic thing. Let's say all of our houses doubled. Say the TCAD was mean and they doubled everybody's houses. Do you think your net taxes will double?
Yes, on my property that doesn't have a homestead, it will.
Well, no.
I'll show you. After this, I'll show you the appraisal I got.
Well, we'll get into that. But in general, if all of our properties doubled, then let's say your overall tax rate is 2%. If your tax rate goes down to 1%, you're paying the same amount.
Correct.
Okay. So you will see this year, all of the taxing districts will lower their tax rates. They have to, because SB2 or HB3 from a couple of years ago that was passed, it limits the amount of revenue the taxing units can increase. School districts can only increase by 2.5%. And if they go over 2.5%, they have to compress their M&O tax rate to compensate for increased appraisals. Cities and counties can only increase their M&O taxes by 3.5%. And if appraisals are going up 30, 40, 50%, then they have to compress their tax rates to compensate for that. So you will see that, your overall tax rate might actually be under 2% this year because of increased appraisals. Because that's how the math works, right? Let me put it a different way if you don't understand that. Let's say Anthony was in charge of the appraisal district and I could wave my magic wand and I cut your valuations in half, right? So, and I cut it across the board in Travis County that everybody's valuation is 50%. Do you think the taxes that you pay at the end of the year will be cut to 50%? No, it won't. Because the taxing units will see that valuations were cut 50% and they would just double the tax rate. If it was at 2%, they would double it to 4% and get the same revenue. Because state law allows them to collect the same amount of taxes from the previous year plus a little bit for inflation. 2.5% for schools, 3.5% for cities and counties. So the appraisals, that's why I say the appraisals do not really matter, because the tax rate is really the important thing. The tax rates that the cities, counties, and school boards set really determines how much you're going to pay at the end of the day. It's a deflection, right? It's a very clever illusion that makes everybody think it's the appraisals, but the appraisal district has to, by law, appraise to market value. And you know the market values have gone up. I watched your podcast. They have substantially gone up over the last 2 years. So but the system was clever because if everybody goes protest their valuation thinking they're going to lower their taxes and they won't. What you can do is you go to the tax rate hearings that city councils, county commissioners, ESD boards, school boards have, and when they set their tax rate, that's where you protest to those board members that are elected and say, hey, I need you to cut spending and reduce the tax rate so that I pay less. And the state has been, before they could increase it by 8%, and they all did. And that's why our taxes were rising the last 10 years, because the inflation amount was set to 8% in the 80s and then never changed it. They finally changed it 2 years ago, and now it's at 3.5%. And so, they're going to probably demand, because inflation is at 6 or 7%, that the state should increase it. But I don't think they're going to do that. So they're severely limited in how much taxes they can increase now because of SB 3 that was passed in the last legislative session. Does that make sense?
It does, but it still doesn't. So when homeowners hear me out. When homeowners get their valuations, right? So prime example, on one of my rental properties went from 300 to 536, not one single comp to support that valuation. In fact, in their press release or in the release, they said they need to be more aggressive, is what what's the head person's name?
Mara Krigler, yes.
Yes, Krigler. She said they need to be more aggressive. And then she also said that West Austin was not paying enough. I know people in West Austin, they're paying $150,000 to $200,000 a year in property taxes. Is that not enough? I don't get that, but that's for something else. So my question though is that when homeowners get that valuation, like mine, they went from 300 to 536, and it's saying that my last year's taxes I was paying was $5,500, but now it's $9,400. So almost a $4,000 increase. That's more than 2.5%. That's more than 10%. If I were to, so why are they able to almost double my taxes in 1 year?
Well, the rates will be lower, but so you have an.
You're saying that number I got, 9,400, whatever, don't pay attention to that because that's not the real number.
Well, you won't know the real number until October, and all of the taxing units set their tax rates. I'll guarantee you that most likely all the tax rates will go down significantly because values are up 50% across the board, and because it's your investment property, unfortunately, you don't get those 10% homestead caps. You have to pay that full rate. So yes, if you have the data and you're sure that there's no property that sold for that much, similar property in your area, then you have a case that you should file a protest and get it as low as you can.
So if I were to do nothing, but so you're saying that they can only go up, what was it, 3.5% or 2.5%?
2.5% for schools and pretty much 3.5% for everybody else. Junior colleges and some ESDs can go to 8% still, but yeah.
But that's still what I'm saying is that my taxes on that one property went up more than 40%. So you're saying that even if I did nothing, that would not stick. The challenge I have is that no, they probably would keep it there just because I didn't protest it. If I protest it, I'll probably win and get it to come down a little bit. But
you'll be able to get it down a little bit, but it's because everybody else's went up the same amount. In theory, they should lower the tax rates to compensate for the increase in appraisal values, and you'll see that, right? It'll some places will be under 2%. Maybe where I live, I'm hoping I can get it under 2%, which is amazing. But yeah, the Westlake area, the Eanes IC area has been under 2% for years because their valuations were so high. That's why you see in the most expensive real estate market, their tax rates are lower because their valuations are higher.
The point I was making, though, is that Krigler is saying they're not paying enough. Yeah, I personally know people that purchased even in Central Austin that their first year were paying $23,000 a year for a property, and when they tried to go up to $40,000 the next year. That's a lot of money to live in. I mean, obviously,
I completely. It's a lot of money, but she's not determining taxes.
Right.
She's determining the slice of the pie.
But this is where I'm saying, as a consumer, a homeowner, somebody living, to hear the fact that you are saying that people in West Austin are not paying enough taxes, when you're the one that's in charge of collecting the taxes, it's kind of a BS move. And I think a lot of people.
Well, she doesn't collect them either. Bruce Elfont, the tax collector, collects them.
Okay.
She just determines how much of the pie you pay. And
right.
Yeah.
But do you think it's fair that she says people in West Austin don't pay enough when they already pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in property taxes?
I don't think she said that they don't pay enough. I think she said that the valuation is too low.
I'll pull up her quote. She did say that. In fact, she said that. I read it, and then I put it on my channel, and I even showed on my channel where she said that.
Okay.
She did.
The other element of that is that every CAD gets audited every 2 years by the state comptroller. The comptroller comes in, picks a few properties, and he has his own data sources. And if we are too low, they will penalize the school districts for that. So we failed the audit in far West Travis County, right?
Okay.
Marble Falls, there's a few places over there, and we failed it. And so they had to pay us, we didn't have many properties out there, but we failed it. So if she doesn't appraise to market value, our district gets dinged for it. So
she should be a little more clear with what she says then, or the reporter that wrote what she said should probably be a little more clear then.
Thanks for watching this short of the Real Amigos podcast. For more live streams, hit here. For more clips, hit here. We'll catch you on the next one.